What's up, everybody? It's Nick with Two Brothers Comics. Today we're going to do another 2-Minute Tuesday. This time we're going to dive deep into a comic book publisher that many people are familiar with, but don't know much about. And without this comic book publisher, one of the biggest publishers of today may not have been around for very long. Stay tuned. That's right, guys, we're going to be talking about Malibu Comics. Now, Malibu Comics was founded in 1986 by David Birch and Tom Mason, who later was joined by Chris Ullman in 87, and then Scott Rosenberg did a lot of the financing, and he actually owned a distribution company at the time. Now, Malibu had very humble beginnings. They started with basically black and white comics. These were all creator-owned comics, very similar to what we're seeing with Image and some of these other independent comic book publishers now. But what made Malibu popular was a lot of the licensing comics they did. Some of the ones you're going to be most familiar with are going to be, Tarzan, Sherlock Holmes. One of the biggest licensing comics to come out of Malibu was actually Men in Black. A lot of people don't know that. Everybody's familiar with the Will Smith movies and that franchise, later became video games and things like that, but actually started and was created here within Malibu Comics. Due to the financing agreement with Rosenberg in 1987, Malibu also acquired many other publishers. It acquired Eternity Comics and also the Canadian publisher Aircell Comics. And then in 1989 also went on to acquire Adventure Publications. Now, one of the coolest things a lot of people don't know about Malibu Comics was how impactful they were on Image Comics. This was a short-term kind of partnership because Image was brand new. They needed some additional finances, so the two paired up and for a short period of time actually became the #2 publisher. Obviously, eventually Image Comics became self-sustaining and they ended up separating, but had Malibu not stepped in that financing role, we may not have had the Image Comics that we do now. Image Comics brought to the table a lot of the superhero roles that at the time Malibu really wasn't doing. They were doing a lot of the licensing publications. So to fill that gap, they created a lot of their own IPs. One of the most popular being Ultraverse. Now, unfortunately, this didn't last very long. Everybody's very familiar with that 90s comic book bubble that happened, and Malibu Comics just did not make it through. Fortunately, they weren't shut down. They were purchased by Marvel. Malibu was really well known for their colorist studio, so that was one of the big keys that led Marvel to pick up Malibu. So on November 3rd, 1994, it was official. Malibu Comics was now a Marvel property. So even though Malibu Comics had less than a decade of impact on the comic industry, I think it had a pretty huge impact. Again, without Malibu, we may not have had the Image Comics we know now. We certainly wouldn't have Men in Black via Aircell Comics, which obviously was through Malibu. So at the end of the video, I'm going to put up some of Malibu's other comics that they've done and kind of just show off the covers and things like that. If that's something you're interested in, stick around for that. Let me know down in the comments if you know anything about Malibu Comics or if you picked up any of the comic books that were published by Malibu. I know Dustin is a big fan of some of the licensing properties that they've done. Also, drop in the comments down below some suggestions for next week's 2 minutes in comic book history. Malibu Comics was actually one that was brought up on our Saturday night Comic Book Babble-on we do every Saturday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern live. So join us for that every Saturday. So thank you for the suggestion. If you're into comic unboxings, creator interviews, videos like this, and collectible reviews, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell because we all know YouTube does not do a great job when it comes to notifications. And as always, guys, collect your way.